Welcome to Say It with Roz. I just want to talk about the job situation right now. I hear a lot of people say that they're not going to pick anybody's fruit and vegetables. They're not going to the fields. And I hope that it turns out that way, because I really don't want to see, especially my people, back in the fields. I am old enough to know what it was like to be in the fields. Although I did not spend a lot of time in the fields back in the day, I grew up around that, and mainly the reason I didn't spend a lot of time in the fields is because my daddy didn't want me to, and because I had to babysit my younger sisters and brothers all the time. But all of my friends, when school was out and they were in the fields making money for their school clothes and whatever, I wanted to go too. It was a way of life back then, And so I know what that's like. Now, I want to tell you this. Nobody was forcing people to go to the fields, unless you were sharecropping. Now, if you were unfortunately enough to be in a sharecropping family, then yeah, you had to go to the fields and bring in that harvest, or do whatever was needed around there on that land. But most of the people I grew up around were not in that situation. And they only went to the fields when school was out and they were trying to earn money, for their school clothes. Because what else were you going to do? There was no jobs, like they have now for young people when they're out of school, like at McDonald's and grocery stores and other places, that would hire, teenagers to work when they were out of school. There was nothing like that. And they probably wouldn't have hired black people anyway. They would have hired white kids. They probably did have jobs like that for white kids, But where I lived in the Mississippi Delta, kids went to the field, to pick cotton and chop cotton. I don't think anybody ever did any vegetable picking or anything like that, because the crops around there was cotton back then, people picking and chopping cotton. So my point is, if you don't have anything else to do to put food on your table or clothes on your back, you may not have a choice but to go to the fields. Either that or to do something illegal, or... Now, there are other things people can do. You can start your own business. You can, do a lot of things, do hair, women can do hair, do nails and things like that, to try to survive. But will it even be enough, to survive? I'm just saying, if they're trying to make it where black people can't get good jobs, from what I'm hearing and understanding, they're on this anti-DEI wagon, and which means that some companies may not hire black people anymore, just because they don't want to. And I saw a little while ago where some company was being called out for having too many black people, that they had hired. I mean, if companies are going to be, targeted for hiring black people, most likely they won't hire them, or they'll hire one or two and that's it, So I'm hoping that most companies won't do that, in spite of. So, but I'm just saying, we can't ever say never in this environment. Who knows what they have up their sleeve? They've went back on child labor laws. They want to see children working. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't know. It's like they want to force people to do these low-paying jobs, because they're getting rid of the people that were already doing these jobs, and now they want to find a new workforce for those jobs. So, I don't know. I hope it doesn't come to that, where we have to send our children, out working, to try to make a living, make ends meet, or that we don't have to go to the fields ourselves, I couldn't do it myself because, look, I can hardly get through working in my garden in the backyard, without having to sit down in a chair. So at my age. So, but I don't know, y'all. And then hearing so many people demonizing the Democrats. Democrats would have never done things like this. We wouldn't have to be worrying about the things that we're worrying about now, but so many, I see a lot of people out there, wanting to say Democrats are no good, and we need to get off that Democrat plantation. Well, what? You gonna go to the field plantation or the farmer's plantation? I mean, anyway, my advice is to think about what you need to do to survive in the future without going to the fields. If you're in, if you have a profession, a good skill, most likely you'll be able to find a job, If one company gets rid of you, hopefully you can go and find another job or start your own doggone business. Start your own company. That's what we need to do. Start making things for ourselves, the people that can do it, because we have a lot of talent and a lot of skills, we just have to put our monies together to make that happen. But think about, what would you do? Say, for instance, you've got a good job right now, working in corporate America or whatever, wherever, or at NASA, or with the government or whatever, you got a good paying job. What would you do if that company or that organization told you you no longer have a job? And what would you do if you had a hard time or could not find another job like that? What would you do? Think about that. Think about that. Don't just think things are going to just go along like they've been going along, like nothing's going to change, because things could change in an instant in this current environment. People have already seen that. Look at how many people have already lost their jobs. People that thought they would have a job until they retired or until they wanted to leave, and they didn't. So think about that, so you won't be forced to go to the fields. That's all I gotta say. Over and out.